Now, the Target 12 investigator is taking a closer look at the sudden resignation of Governor Dan McKee's chief of staff.
As we reported earlier in this newscast, the governor announced this morning that Tony Silva would step down immediately as the Attorney General investigates his involvement in a controversial development project in Cumberland.
We're joined right now by 12 News Politics editor Ted Nesi, live in studio, part of the Target 12 team that's been digging into this story now. And Ted, this really blew up into a major political headache for the governor just over the last week.
Yeah, Brian, getting rid of Tony Silva, certainly not a step Governor McKee would have taken lightly. The two of them have been close for years. They both hail from Cumberland, and Silva has been McKee's only chief of staff at the state level. But the questions swirling around about that land deal and the fact that Silva was not fully transparent with reporters when we first started asking him questions about it really made it increasingly untenable for him to stay, especially once the governor himself switched from defending Silva to seeking that investigation by the Attorney General into his activities. I know some McKee advisors were worried that while Silva was at the center of this story, the longer it dragged on, the more it was sticking to the governor as well, which was not something they wanted ahead of next year's election. Democrats and Republicans have both been criticizing McKee for not acting sooner.
And Ted, earlier today, we heard from Governor McKee about this retirement. Let's listen to a little of how he explained the move.
I stand by the fact that I don't expect anything that's going to be on a legal nature with what Tony has done. This is all about him being a professional, us being understanding what we need to do, and we've done it. We've been talking about this for several days, and so I'll just leave it at that.
Clearly, the governor not looking to say too much about their internal deliberations there. Ted, what can you tell us about the new chief of staff who's taking over?
Yeah, so the governor announced that effective immediately, his new chief of staff is Antonio Afonso Jr., who goes by Tony. Afonso had been McKee's senior deputy chief of staff. Like McKee and Silva, Afonso is from Cumberland, where he's been a fairly prominent lawyer for a number of years. Viewers might also recognize his name from the lawsuit over the 38 Studios Curt Schilling video game debacle. Afonso and his old law firm paid $4.4 million to the state to settle that case after they did some of the legal work for the 38 Studios transaction, which was now a decade ago. Silva had been making almost $200,000 as McKee's chief of staff. The governor's office told me just in the last 10 minutes, Afonso will make $187,000 in the job.
And of course, Target 12 investigator Tim White will be back coming up at 5 with much more on the Tony Silva controversy. Ted Nesi, as always, thanks for joining us live at 4.
Good to be here.